What do you guys give me if I kill that bird? Marvin, that's a bald eagle. Get away, Baldy! Yeah!
Oh, boy. Good evening, and good evening. This is The Word with Mike, Pete, Steve, and a whole slew of other cast of characters. Season 4 here of The Word with Mike, Pete, and Steve. GovsRadio.com. We are live here in our homes again. We thought 2021 was going to bring us some, freedom and running around barefoot in the woods, but I guess you could still do that. Thanks, everyone, for joining us this evening. This is The Word with Mike, Pete, and Steve. GovsRadio.com. Go over to GovsRadio.com and check us out live. We're also live on Facebook, live on YouTube. Go over to the Govs Comedy Radio channel, Comedy Club Radio channel, I think, and you will check us out. We're also in podcast form on all your favorite podcast platforms, as well as GovsRadio.com. And tonight, we have a very special guest with us. We have Chris from Darling Brewing Company out in Patchogue, Long Island. Before we get to Chris, we're going to start with Steve and some of our, and this is, by the way, the whole song, and this is not at all what it's supposed to be, but it's fine. We're going to start with our sponsors for 2021, and Steve, you're going to kick it off with our buddy Nick over at Rosie's Draft Solutions.
Yes, last year Rosie's came on as a sponsor, and they've been doing some really great things. They wanted to come back and probably our number one sponsor, and we're hoping some really big things for them. Obviously, once things start opening up again, but Rosie's Draft Solution provides professional draft beer cleaning services. They service bars, restaurants, halls, events, homes, and all other beverage establishments across Long Island and Westchester. So if you need a kegerator, they can get you on, set it all up, get you going. And if you don't know how to clean it, they will come and clean it for you. If you mention the Wort, you will get a, 5% discount?
10% off your order and your service.
Yes. Just got to ask for Nick over at rosiedraftsolutions.com, and he will set you up with a fine working kegerator to put some beautiful beer in, hopefully from Darling Brewing.
There you go. So go over to rosiedraftsolutions.com or give them a call. I forget the phone number, but you can go to Rosie's Draft Solutions and find it out and call Nick and tell him the Wort sent you. We're also sponsored tonight by Brewbag. Brewbag is beer pong cornhole right in your backyard when things get a little warmer up here in the Northeast. We're going to be out there playing a little beer pong cornhole from Brewbag. Go to brewbag.com and in the promo code type in Wort, or better yet, go over to our Instagram. Go up into our profile, and in there is a link to all of our sponsors, especially Rosie's and Brewbag and VintageBeerShirtClub.com. So if you click on that link for Brewbag, you will get a percentage off your order automatically. The link is special for us. So go to brewbag.com for your beer pong cornhole today. We're also sponsored by VintageBeerShirtClub.com, VintageBeerShirtClub.com for your vintage beer shirts today. Go over to VintageBeerShirtClub.com, type in the promo code WORT, W-O-R-T, receive a percentage off your order, and check out all the cool old school brewery logos that they have. Pete, what else do we got?
Hardwell Woodshop, since I see your tap handle there, taphandles.com. Hardwell Woodshop, if you want to get your lady a fancy cutting board for Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
Mention the Wort, taphandles.com.
Yep. And
Go ahead. You want to get a fancy tap handle for that kegerator that you got from Rosie's Draft Solutions?
Aha. What a nice time.
Wouldn't be complete without a tap handle, taphandles.com.
Also, go over to Brewers Hardware, brewershardware.com for all your home brewing or large capacity needs. Brewers Hardware, again, opening up its sponsorship this year for 2021 and giving us gifts to give back to our guests on the show. So, Chris, you shall receive some gifts for being on the show tonight, like every radio guest there is. Yay! So go to brewershardware.com. There is a promo code set up. He set one up at the end of 2020. So type in Wort, W-O-R-T, and let him know that the Wort sent you. And I think that's it for now. We are actively talking to other people about some new sponsorships here. We still have our regular ones that have been going on for a little under a year. This new lineup here is actually less than a year so far. So we got more coming, folks. So keep an eye out for that. People in the beer industry, in the craft industry, anything like that, give us a call if you want to be a sponsor on the show. We don't ask for much, that's for damn sure. We're pretty much whores, so we'll just do whatever you want us to do. Just tell us what you want us to promote, and we'll just promote it. We're good with that. Tonight, in our homes, we welcome Chris Daughtry from Darling Brewing Company. What's up, buddy?
Thanks for having me on, guys. Or in. I don't know.
Yeah, in. Oh, thanks a lot for cutting out some time for us.
Home.
Yeah, welcome to our home. We welcome ourselves to your home. It's kind of weird to say that, but sure.
Come on in.
Yeah, come on in. Have a beer.
I like
Take
the
yourself
chair
home.
rail.
Yeah. Very fancy. Fancy chair rail. So, Chris, again, thanks for a lot. You're kicking off season 4 here of The Wort with Mike, Pete, and Steve. Got a lot planned for this year. A couple of quick announcements, show-related, not sponsor-related. Number one, we are going to be taping called Pints of Love. And check out our Instagram and social media for information, or go over the 90-second beer review. There is somewhere along the lines of like a dozen or a dozen and a half different breweries from New York and North Carolina participating in Pints of Love. So check them out, and there's a lot of content throughout the weekend. It's $15. You can get all weekend of content, including live music events, including interviews with brewers, and then including, of course, our stage, our 1 hour special version of The Wort, and I guarantee it's going to be a fun one. We have a lot of fun stuff planned, so check that out.
Oh, boy.
If you're fans of any of the shows with featuring Joe Bruzzo of WA Meadworks,
you're giving away the farm. You're giving away the farm.
I promise it'll be worse.
Fair enough. Also, coming up this year, we have AC Beer Fest, which announced its dates of June 4th and 5th. So we'll be down at AC Beer Fest broadcasting, possibly not live, considering it's going to be outdoors, but if they don't have Wi-Fi. So we'll probably be recording it to tape and then airing it that following Monday or so. So keep an eye out for that.
Only sad thing I read, they couldn't get the original acts they were going to have from this past year. Goldfinger.
Oh, really? Oh.
Pete's all broken up.
I know you crushed, Peter. You crushed.
So
I
Chris,
get to see the used?
No, it's not the used. Was it the used?
The used.
No, it's not the used.
It was.
No, was it?
No.
I don't think so. No, it was definitely Newfound Glory, which I've seen a million times, so that's fine. Goldfinger, I've only seen like maybe 4 times, and I have not seen him in years, so I was excited about that one.
Me too.
Especially the new album came out, and it was fantastic. So some good stuff coming out from them. So I'm anxious to see what they're going to get.
I heard one actor might be Rammstein or something. I don't know.
You fucking wish.
Lamb of God.
God. I wouldn't do the show.
No, you wouldn't. They don't play for long. They only play for like 40 minutes. They have like old music plays all day. There's probably
I don't know
like
if anyone's ever seen Rammstein live, but like I thought I had been to 2 shows, and then I went to my second Rammstein concert, and that is a fucking show. It is a spectacle.
Lots of fire.
Oh my god! The first
so
time
much fire.
Everything's on fire, including the lead singer. It's, I mean, not to be missed.
Trying to scream over being in flames. Well, that's fun. I mean, I would pay to see that probably. That'd be fun. So yeah, we got, like I said, a lot of things planned for the upcoming year, and for people at home, they could see some changes to the intro, changes to the logo. We're making upgrades along the way, so with that, we hope to do some very big things, even beyond those things, when things get better and we get out there and to the public and back and hanging out with people again, and everything will hopefully make its way through. Now, on the darker side, we're still in the middle of this. So it's got to be hard on people. Chris, let's start off with talking a little bit about that. You guys opened less than a year ago, correct?
Yeah, starting in the middle of the pandemic, July 31st. So like right in the middle of it, basically.
Wow. That's got to be tough. I'm sure you didn't try to plan it that way. What was the hardest thing?
No.
Sorry, you were breaking up there.
Remember back when they were saying 2 weeks of quarantine to flatten the curve, and here we are almost later. Like, it is what it is, but we're making do. We're getting by. We're paying our bills. So really, I have no grounds to complain. I want things to open back up. I would love for my tap room to be at 100% capacity again, but like I said, we're getting by. So if we can survive in this time, I think we're going to be okay for the future.
Now, when you guys,
if you can make it through a year, I think you're okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, not good.
So give us a little brief history about you. We've been kind of going back and forth online for a while since we started the show over 3 years ago now, and you at one point were over at Barrier. And so pick us up from there. How'd you get involved with Barrier, and then how'd you get to where you are today?
Well, I started homebrewing in college about maybe 11 years ago. And I was never really thrilled about what I was doing in college. Took a step back, took some time to figure out maybe wanting to do something else. Fell into an internship at Barrier, basically just washing kegs. And, over the course of my 6 years there, I worked my way up from keg washer to cellarman, and then to lead brewer, head brewer. But yeah, I was there for quite some time. Always in the back of my head, I knew I wanted to do something of my own. I always wanted to be working on my own brand, my own beers. Didn't have a lot of that freedom in the Barrier vein, but I took a job for about 6 or 7 months at Rockaway Brewing Company as their brewmaster. In between Barrier and Darling, and there I really had an opportunity to work on my recipes and some of the stuff that I'm really excited about doing and projects going forward. But yeah, then the opportunity to start Darling came up, and I jumped on it.
What was the thing that kind of was the first step towards that? Was it someone coming to you for some sort of partnership, or was it a matter of just a space? What were you looking for there?
So Darling was originally Patchogue Beer Project. There were issues with efficiency, issues with the brand, issues with staffing. So my current partners, who were some of the original partners from Patchogue Beer Project, were looking for someone kind of taking in another direction, someone with a little more experience. That was the role that I filled for Darling. We came in, we rebranded, we kind of took advantage of the fact that things were shut down between March and July when we opened. And we just took our time to kind of carefully think about what we wanted to do going forward and what kind of beer we wanted to present to Patchogue and Suffolk County. But I think we do have a pretty focused mission statement in terms of beer, and that's really just making quality beer.
Without going into the specifics, what was not working before that you wanted to fix? I mean, I know you said staffing issues and stuff like that, but did it have to do with the product?
It was 90% the product.
Okay.
It was just, I think it was just a lack of understanding and experience.
No, it definitely was.
Yeah, and I don't want to talk down on anyone.
No.
But this isn't something that you can just bite off, and it's not home brewing. You need to know what you're doing, and especially when you're not. Coming from Rockaway, we had 4-person staff running a 5-barrel brew house.
Jesus.
But we're cranking out. We're making tons of product. Same deal with Barrier. When I was with Barrier and we were back on the 5-barrel system, John Gomez and I were cranking out 6 batches a day, 3 each.
Jesus Christ.
We were turning that brew house around 3 times a day per brewer.
Yeah.
So it's I'm no stranger to efficiency and working on a small system, but putting out volume. And even when we moved up to a 20 barrel system at Barrier, 3 turns a day per brewer, it's a lot. But so when you have one guy doing maybe one batch a week and it's not coming out perfect, you have to really look into who's making your products, I think.
Right.
That could be bad.
For me, more than anything, what it comes down to is ingredients. We never cut costs on ingredients. That's something that really bugs me about a lot of breweries. Using heavily modified ingredients or using very cheap ingredients, using extracts, using all sorts of stuff. I don't know. I'm someone who's very sensitive to extracts in terms of taste. If I try a fruited sour, I can almost 99% of the time tell if it was just an extract instead of fruit puree.
Right. Is it a matter of sweetness or just the tang or something there to it?
Tang, it's kind of a medicinal quality, and often it perceives a little bit as it's not quite diacetyl and it's not quite acetyl, but it's somewhere in the middle of the two. And I don't know, it's just something I can always seem to perceive. I pick it up quickly, and it bugs me because it's so simple to just add puree to the beer, and you might have to spend a little bit more money, but I think for the product, it's just that much better.
Yeah, I mean, for just we're gonna break down the beers a little later, but what we have here from the fruited sour or the sour double IPA, you can't tell anything about extracts or anything like that. It tastes very natural. There's a very natural taste to what you've added to this. We'll get into it, like I said, later, but delicious. And I'm a big fan of the sour IPA, sour craze, and I only got into it recently. So it's one of those, again, things that I think every brewery should be experimenting with, whether it be a sour lager or a sour IPA or a Brett IPA or anything like that. To have one of those on the board gives people options. And, not talking down, but I don't remember Patrick Beer Project having that big of a portfolio to choose from. And that's what I want out of a brewery. I want to be able to jump from a porter to a sour, then back over to double IPA, and then let me try the Saison. That kind of, that's where I'm at. I'm like ADD of beer drinking.
No, and you would probably love our tap room then, because we have something for everyone. We only really ever have 2 clean IPAs on at a time. I can't stand going to a brewery and seeing 10 New England style IPAs. I might as well turn around because I don't want to drink it.
Well, you did work at Barrier, so
IPAs. Well, yeah, I mean, for the 6 years I was at Barrier, it was 90% of what I paid.
Yep.
But
and we love it. I was at Barrier so much, and I everything you went in there and you could probably Ishcray is one of my favorite beers. That collab with Sand City, it was so good. That was one of the first ones that it stopped me in my tracks, and I seek it out every time it comes out. And there's been some great ones, solid ones, as well as even the half with other half. Was it stout or porter or whatever that was?
Yeah, the milk stout.
Milk stout. Oh my God.
Yeah, no, that's a great beer. And those are some of the beers that I love the most when I was at Barrier, were the dark beers. Evan really had a good mind for doing the darker stuff like Rip Rap, Morticia. Especially now with all the Morticia variances that they're doing. I had a few the other day, and I was like, man, we weren't doing fun stuff with it when I was there. They're doing a mint version, they're doing a cinnamon version, they're doing all sorts of stuff, and it is really good.
That's very cool.
Yeah, no, I mean, if you come to our brewery, our board is pretty eclectic. I always have at least a German Keller beer on. That's the style that I like to drink the most. Typically, we'll have a Saison on. Currently, we have an English mild on. I don't really know of any other brew.
That beer was excellent, bro.
Thank you. I mean, that for me, that's like a Sunday beer. That's a football beer. If I'm watching 3 hours of football, that beer is pretty sessionable, but it has a lot of flavor. I think it was 4 or 5, something like that. 5, yeah. And I mean, you could drink a ton of them, not get bloated, but it also pairs well with every food. I mean, it's one of those styles that you have to sell people on. Most people don't realize that they want to drink an English mild because they don't know what it is. But once they have it, they realize like, oh, it's just like, it's kind of a Yingling that tastes a little bit better. You know, it's.
I'm not a big Yingling fan, but I do know from Steve's palate that would work very much for me.
Yeah, I went when I stopped in the other day. That was the first I saw it. I was like, oh, I'm getting the English mild. You know,
good.
New England IPAs are New England IPAs, but
right. You know, like the English mild is like, that's the brewer's beer. That's the shift beer. That's what I want at the end of a long day. Like hot brew house, kicking grain all day. And then like I go to the bar, the last thing I want to drink is a heavy stout or a heavy IPA. Like I just want either the Pilsner or the English mild. That's definitely going to like make me feel a lot better.
Yeah, it was definitely well done, man. And I even said to Ryan, I said, I said, this beer is, for me, it was spot on. It was like you said, I could sit there and just drink that, and you know, whereas you know you're drinking something real heavy, or you're drinking something that it's got so much hops in it, your palate gets kind of burnt out, you know.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, we're working out of serving tanks predominantly, so every beer that I make has to be something that like we can sell relatively quickly. I mean, we can't really afford to have 5 to 10 barrels of beer sitting in a tank because no one wants to. So there is a little bit of an education curve where someone comes in and doesn't realize that they want an English mild. Like, it's really up to my bartenders and it's up to me writing the proper tasting notes for it. But at the end of the day, like it's all about educating and letting the consumer know, like, hey, here's a new style that you might not have thought about picking off our board, but we really recommend it. And again, same goes for the Keller beer. Like just really good, crisp, easy drinking. So I mean, you could drink a few of without leaving our tap room feeling like drunk and, you know, way too full.
Exactly.
Although we do encourage you to leave drunk.
We're not going to deny anybody of their God-given right to drink lots and lots of beer.
And then get in an Uber, for the love of God.
That's correct. Well, Patchogue, you got to get it.
Or called Gotham Gold Graz Limo Company for a ride home.
I can't wait till he jumps into the chat and Instagram Live that we just went on and starts talking stuff. But we are, Instagram, we're live with Chris from Darling Brewing Company out in Patchogue, Long Island, talking to him about the brand new brewery that he's now the co-owner and head brewer of, and taking all your styles that you learned from Barry. Did you really take any of those relatively close recipes and bring them over to the new place?
Not really so much. It's funny. I really love Barrier's IPAs, and obviously that's what they're known for, but they're also so specifically done. Like when I crack open a can of beer and it's in, let's say, a blank can, I can pretty much always pick out a Barrier beer.
Right.
Their IPAs are very much their own. And it isn't to say that I don't enjoy their style of beer. It is to say that I wanted to do something of my own. And you work with someone for that long, and eventually, you know, you spot things that you don't love about the beer, or, you know, and obviously you have to make what you love, and hopefully the consumer loves it too. But I'm sure, like, once you get into the double IPA enfilade, you'll understand where I stand a little bit differently in terms of bitterness, in terms of yeast use, and we'll get into the details of what goes into these beers too. But no, I mean, I've been home brewing for 10 years, 11 years now, including my professional career. And I've just always kind of wanted to do my own thing. I've always had strong opinions, obviously, on ingredients, but also just on how styles should be executed. And I think a lot of this industry, especially now and especially on Long Island, everything is very much so dependent on efficiency or dependent on style. And a lot of breweries are either pushing beer out quickly or they're cutting a corner with the ingredients here or there. You know, I'm coming from my most recent job being in the city, and there's so many good breweries in the city where ingredients is not an object. It just, the standard for beer was so much higher, And I see that coming out to the island now. And I do see it with a lot of breweries that, we compete with, but I'm still friendly with. So yeah, I just think there's still this growth that's happening in Long Island.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
No, it does. Checking in on Instagram, Jordan R329 said he just picked up a mixed case from Barry last week, but hasn't been able to crack it yet. Rosie's Draft Solution says, what's up? Joseph John, one of our number one super fan number 99 for our podcast, says Darling is so good. And I also tagged him and pinned him in the thing. Barnshed's checking in.
Because Rosie was at Darling today. He cleans my lines.
There you go.
Like once.
Nice.
As he should. And you got your certified clean tap plaque.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, yeah. He knows the shit, man.
Yes. Yes, he does.
And he knows the things where, some people just don't know this part of that system needs cleaning. Like even the bearing inside of the thing in here. This needs to fully be taken apart. You can't just run cleaner through this and we're good. There's some pieces in here that won't, reach that. So if you have to take your time and really pull this thing apart and make sure that every inch of that thing is clean if you want to get the best possible product out to your audience.
Yep. Which I appreciate because he does it so quickly, so seamlessly, and something that would probably take me a whole day.
Yeah.
He's in and out in a couple of hours and does a phenomenal job.
They're very meticulous.
Yeah. Our buddy
much.
from West. Sorry, good.
No, when it's something you do every day, maybe a couple times a day, he's quick, and that doesn't mean he's not doing a good job. He just knows what he's doing.
Yep.
Buddy from West Babylon Superstars checking in. He does a review every so often, every week. Loves Darling. Barrel Aged Dave says Darling is the best thing to happen in Long Island since beer, besides Barrage. So I guess he threw that in there just to make sure he wasn't, But Barrage doesn't exist anymore, Dave, so maybe Darling's number one now for you.
Remember Barrage?
Yeah. Remember that place? So Rosie says, cheers. Jordan says, good job, Rob. Good job, Rob. Oh, he's commenting in the thing. And Scotty Too Hoppy's saying what's up. So just checking in every so often, saying hi to people. So, Chris, we opened up in July, and obviously it was in the midst of this craziness, although I think July was probably the right time because people could go outside. You could have your cellar doors open up, your garage doors. Give us a little outline of the space and what you guys did on opening weekend just to kind of get people in and get it going.
Intention was still pretty high. A lot of people were still very paranoid. A lot of people weren't really going out. And we also had never operated in a pandemic. Pretty much March happened, the lockdown happened, we started the rebrand, I started replumbing, and by the time we were ready to brew beer and open up, I think my partners and I kind of realized we have no idea how to operate in a pandemic.
Not too many people did.
Yeah, well,
I think you're in good company.
Yeah, well, I mean, July, a couple of breweries had a month on us, they had already a month that they were working at half capacity or whatever it was at the time. But we kind of looked at each other and realized that our concentration was on just opening, but now there were all these regulations that we needed to follow. So we didn't really make a huge announcement. We didn't really do a grand opening because obviously we couldn't, but we opened quietly, and we've kind of since then just been relying on word of mouth. We're not really advertising too much. We're still just taking this time to figure out what we are and what our focus is. I think we're pretty well attuned to the kind of beer that we want to be making, the kind of beer that Patchogue and Suffolk County want to see from us, which fortunately are the styles that I tend to like to brew. So we're just kind of feeling it out still. And when things open up a little bit more, hopefully we can, we'll just see where it goes from there. But yeah, I wish I had more definitive answers.
No, it's true. It's everything's way up in the air for months now. It's just tough to really just put your finger on exactly the answer to it. There really is no answer.
Every time Cuomo says something new, people get freaked out and we get freaked out and we're like, are we going to be closed next week? Like, yeah, like, do I need to make another hazy IPA? Because like that we can just do that. I don't know.
I do have to say,
Yeah,
right here doing
Keller beer.
package beer, huge. This is the way to go right now till shit straightens out.
Yeah.
You know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I mean, we're already doing pretty well with the can sales. Maltman, shout out to Maltman. They do a phenomenal job packaging for us. And yeah, come February, we'll have another canning run. We're talking about doing 3 new one-off beers, Berliner and IPA, and then we're really hoping to get maybe a fruited cream ale out, just like a few weeks. You know?
I like. I mean, the cream ales are delicious. Rosie's is saying the Keller is killer. That's hard to say.
Killer.
Keller. Loves it. Nick loves his Keller. Dan from Long Beach Brewing Company says, "What's up, boys? How's everyone doing?" And our buddy from West Babylon Superstar says, "When I get a chance, I'm gonna drop by and pick up some beer for our store. People have to try this stuff." So he's gonna swing by, just so you know. Have some beers on the ready for him.
Definitely.
So I mean, obviously that was a tough transition to open up during the pandemic. How, I mean, since the weather has changed, how are you guys addressing? I know you kind of even mentioned it with the constant regulation changes, but how are you addressing it like today? Have operating hours changed? Have you changed the way the tap room operates? Are you focusing more on to go? Are you able to do any in-tasting room pours or anything like that? How's that all working?
So, I mean, the tasting room's open at 50% capacity, which is something. And like, that's really where most of our bread and butter is right now. But now that we are getting to the slow season, January for any brewery is typically very slow. A lot of bars and restaurants in particular aren't buying kegs. So that kind of shot our distribution model that we were working on. But yeah, so we're really just concentrating on cans to go at the moment. We have a good amount of this new double IPA. We have a little bit of the minor streams left. Sold out of the banana porter pretty quickly.
Oh, I would imagine.
We'll bring that back pretty soon, I think. Yeah, we'll see. Again, it's just kind of like day by day, playing it by ear.
Yeah. So let's talk about your system for a few minutes, because obviously if the way to go is going to be canning, are you operating at a capacity where you could can enough to get it out there and make it worth it? Or are you trying to just turn multiple batches around so you have a variety of stuff to get out to distributors? How is that all operating?
So right now we're pretty much canning with a mobile canner at the minimum capacity that we can, just because we have a lot of space constraints that we're working on right now, and we're saving on money each time here and there so that we can get a little bit more space outside of our current. But yeah, we're just canning what we can, and we're getting it out to mostly home D distributors right now, some bars and restaurants, and we're just putting it wherever it fits. You know, like I said, a lot of restaurants aren't taking full kegs right now.
Right.
A lot of restaurants aren't taking backup kegs right now. There still is a good amount of paranoia about there being another lockdown. In the event that there is, you know, no one wants to be sitting on thousands of dollars inventory. But
including you.
Including me. But in that respect, cans have been pretty good because I can sell cans pretty easily to any distributor or restaurant, because I say, hey, like, you know, 16 ounces, it's a definite fill. You know exactly what you're going to get out of it. You're not going to have issues with foaming. You can also sell it to go. So if people come to your establishment to pick up dinner for their family, they can also take out a 4-pack or 2.
Right.
It's an easy guarantee because most bars and restaurants don't have a crowlering machine.
Now, how's the local reception? I know, like you said, they're not really taking kegs, but are there some immediate local places that are open taking anything, or are they just all taking cans? And then beyond that, is there any sort of contracts of restaurants that you know that are moving? Like, we have a couple restaurants in my town that are operating not at full capacity inside, but they have an outside space. So they're still doing pretty decent business because of what was allowed to happen. I'm sure there's still some restaurants out there taking kegs. Is there more of that locally, or do you find that more regionally?
We find that more regional.
Okay. Yeah,
Locally, Patchogue has become, obviously Patchogue downtown is a great spot to like go out for an entire night and jump bar to bar, but that's not happening anymore. So, we are technically a competitor of our immediate neighbors. And, in the summer, if things were wide open, it would be totally different. Everyone is doing well, but right now everyone's kind of just scraping by and trying to make what they can and keep their business afloat. And I totally get that. That being said, we have a lot of accounts within Suffolk County and even parts of Nassau County that are asking for kegs, and we're delivering as best we can. We're kind of trying to push cans at the moment. That's a big piece of our inventory right now, but they're moving pretty quickly. So, honestly, like I'm grateful for where we're at, all things considered.
Yeah. Is the mindset different now? Like if you brew something and you can it and it flies out the door, is the mindset to immediately brew that again to kind of saturate that market and make the most you can out of each? Or is it, okay, they got this, so they know us, so now maybe I'll hit them with this?
Well, yeah, I think my partners would love me to just like brew the stuff that flies off the shelves all the time, but I'm pretty stubborn about that. Like, listen, we make a great juicy IPA with all these experimental hops, and people love it, and people go crazy for it, and it sells quickly. But for that, I see it a little bit differently in that gives us some credibility. Like, hey, you love this one thing that we did, try this other thing. Again, like, we will do another IPA on our next canning run, but I'm also trying to queue up a really good Berliner Weiss. I'm also trying to queue up a really good cream ale. Like, I'm trying to do things a little bit differently. I don't want to just be another IPA brewery, because those styles are so easy to come by. They're pretty easy to do well. I love the stuff that is a little more esoteric and the stuff that requires really good ingredients and really good brewing technique. All of our Pilsners are turbid mashed. I go out of my way. You would think it would take you a lot less time to brew a Pilsner because it's such an easy, light beer. But my brew day for one batch of Pilsner is typically 11 to 13 hours because I do a double turbid mash on everything. It's in the ass. It's labor intensive. There's a lot that can go wrong, but I think it makes a huge difference in the beer, especially when you're using a lot of less modified ingredients, and you really have to push your techniques and, to get out all the diacetic power from that grain, and also just to balance it. And then, like, Pilsner isn't just a set it and forget it kind of fermentation. You have to be on top of it every day. There's so much maintenance when you have 2 tanks full of Pilsner and you're dedicating 2 tanks to maybe 4 to 6 weeks for those beers. You can't just let it go and forget about it and let it do its thing. It's daily maintenance.
It's like a child. It just needs to be pampered.
And Chris, Chris is right.
Like, kind of am.
Chris is right.
Daddy.
There is every day you're taking temperatures to make sure you're in that range you want to be at a given time. A lot of people don't realize that. They just think, it goes in the tank, let it ferment, and when it's done, it's done. And that's not it. A really good beer, you're putting in the work every single day. You're checking that beer. You're taking some samples off of it. It's definitely a work in progress. But at the end, when it's a really good tasting beer, you got something to be proud of. And then people go, wow, this is really good. Holy shit. Well, yeah, I put the work in. That's why it's really good, man.
Steve, just dawned on me, you are the Tony Romo of our show, just so you know. For those of you who watch football, get the reference.
Especially with the Pilsners, because, the first thing I try at any new brewery that I go to is the Pilsner, because there's nowhere to hide. There's no dry hop to hide behind. There's no heavy fruit addition. There's no estery yeast. It's got to be balanced. It's got to be done right. But I mean, we spun every pilsner. Every pilsner that we make is naturally carbonated in the fermenter. We have a couple of conditioning tanks actually that are beneath our bar, horizontal conditioning tanks, like very traditional German style. So I have a lot of fun with those. But yeah, like Steve said, there is a ton of work that goes into making a really good, clean beer, and people don't seem to appreciate that. But most people also don't realize that it's going to take about 4 weeks more than your standard ale.
It's got to be a dedication to it, and you gotta. It's all in. You're all in when it comes down to it.
You think of the tank space too. It's like, all right, can I spend that amount of time on one beer where I could probably push out a couple more beers and maybe make a little more money? But it's what you're looking to do, and want people to perceive your brewery as. And you're doing the right thing, man.
Dan from Long Beach Brewing Company says 100% on the Pilsner idea. 100%. That Dan believes that that Pilsner needs to be cradled and pampered the entire time, and constant checks, like Steve was saying, in order to get
Mikey,
that.
Where are you reading? Where are these guys replying to us on?
On Instagram Live.
Oh, okay. Because I have Bellport Dave has been trying.
Dave's cold beer and soda.
That's right. So, David, if you're listening, Instagram Live, brother.
Yeah, go over to the Wort, a podcast on Instagram Live. And Dan says it's his favorite beer to brew. So it's got to be rewarding after you spend so much time and all the effort you put in, Chris, to get that beer right. And when it comes out, you got to be just so thankful that that time and effort went into it, and it's a product you can be proud of.
Yeah, absolutely. It's, as I'm sure Steve could tell you, like, brewing and a week of brewing can be such a nightmare. It can be such a pain in the ass. It's hot, it's smelly, like it's labor intensive, but at the end of the week, if you get to try a product that you're really proud of, like it's amazing how immediately validating it is to have that beer at the end of the week. It's like, shit, like it really was worth it.
I tell you, man, when I went to the tasting room, I had a little reminiscing because your brew house I had the same exact brew house. And I was looking at it. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
What happened? Everyone cut off? Oh, I thought I heard silence for a minute. Bruce B, 73, joining the crowd. Just going back really quick, Ricky B from Horace and Sylvia says, what's up? And Barrel Age Dave asked you a question, Chris. It says, Chris, what is the beer you brew the most?
Nothing right now. We don't have a flagship. I'm still dialing things in. I would love to say that I'm brewing mostly Pilsner, but that's never the case for any brewery this day and age. I'm just trying to keep things interesting. I'm trying to keep things pretty seasonal. I guess technically, if you break down everything that I've brewed so far, what I brew the most of is IPA because it moves the fastest. Mm-hmm. And as soon as one is off the board, I have to queue one up to go on the board. Like I just brewed a new one, dry hopping tomorrow. But yeah, it's all just kind of we're finding our footing right now.
What would you want your flagship to be?
Ooh,
flagship to just be a good Keller beer.
There you go.
And we enjoy Keller. It's a delicious.
Yeah, we're going to be doing something for cans, hopefully all summer. I have a good friend of mine working on a label for a can that we're hopefully going to release like maybe monthly throughout the warmer seasons. But yeah, like that's the kind of beer that I love to brew. That's what I'd love to be brewing mostly. Other than that, I really love Saison. I wish that was an easier style.
My favorite styles.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think farmhouse stuff is what I really want to get into. Lagers and farmhouse are what I'm strongest in. Unfortunately, with our space constraints right now, it's difficult to start a barrel program. Again, that's what we're working on. But once we do find that little bit of space, I intend to be just packing out Chardonnay barrels full of funky Brett stuff, lactose stuff, pocket stuff. Like, yeah, like I can't wait to start getting into that. But
you a fan of Plan B Farm Brewery?
I absolutely love Plan B.
Or
whenever I'm on state, it doesn't matter how far out of the way it is. Like I I make a point to stop there.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
my favorite.
The also Hillstead Farm Stand. Did I say that? Hills.
No, you said that real weird.
Hillstand Farmstead. I can't. Whatever.
Nope.
All right.
Farmstead?
Yeah, Farmstead.
Those guys in Vermont, they make beer.
Could be any number of those things, but it's one of those. Those styles. I'm with you with the farm
hands.
Yeah, farm. One of those. Like you said, the farmhouse styles. To me, I love them, especially in the spring, summer, fall, and then in the winter I want to get a little dark. But other than that, it's pretty much an all year type of style that I can wrap my my mouth some around. Ooh.
Oh my.
Yeah. Do you know what?
Hill Farmstead Brewery.
Thank
there you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't want to look up.
I'd look it up. That's Chris. You'd mentioned you guys were looking at additional space. Like, is that opening up a second location or warehouse space or setting up a pop-up tent outside? What do you guys think?
Yeah. Get a 10 by 10 and store the kegs underneath it.
Yeah. I mean, we would love to have a satellite tap room eventually. It's something that we talk about a lot. But for the most part, no. Right now, we're talking just about getting some additional warehousing space. We are very limited in terms of capacity, and we could definitely use a little bit of space for dry grain storage.
Yeah.
We could also use a little bit more cold storage. We could also use a little bit of barrel storage. I mean, honestly, we just need some warehouse space that's not too far from our current facility, and we can really extend our business quite a bit more. But
so not necessarily like a production space, more of like there's no place to put fucking grain.
Pretty much.
Have you thought about going the route of like Five Guys and just putting like bags of grain,
like the peanuts, like the peanuts,
like the fucking bags of potatoes?
Yeah.
I don't know if the health department likes that, but they don't fuck around with Five Guys, so I don't understand why not.
Right? There's just bags of fucking potatoes in the dining room. Why not?
Yeah, sure. I want to talk to you, Chris, about branding, because I know you talked about the rebranding of the Patrick Beer Project into Darling. So you have this unique logo, which I like the font as being a part. We'll say my minor was in graphic design, and then of course it's a lot of the artwork here. So it kind of follows through in a lot of your branding on the website, branding on your tap handle. Give us a little background about how that came to be.
Yes, I mean, well, the name first of all comes from the Faulkner quote, "Kill your darlings," which is to say, take the aspect of your work that you're already proud of and start again. Not that perfection is something that I think can ever truly be achieved, but it's something that you should always be striving for. I want that to be the first and foremost principle for our products going forward. Again, like we work predominantly with as organic ingredients as we can, less modified ingredients, and yeah, I think it speaks volumes to the quality of the beer that you can make in the end. As far as the branding goes, just I had some friends that I ran the idea by, and my good friend Kayla Griffin from high school, she came up with the logo, which I'm a huge fan of. It's great. People seem to love it. But as far as the can labels and that branding, it's just been a friend of mine who's down in Mexico, and he just has a knack for these things and understands where we're going with it. So I kind of shoot him an idea. I give him a beer name, and I kind of tell him like, hey, I'm thinking like a little bit of this. What do you think? And he'll shoot me like 3 examples, and I'll just like, one of them always hits. I'm always just like, that's the one, like do something with that.
Yeah, it has like a very anime feel to it. It's striking because you can actually see it and immediately associate it with the brand. So I think it works out perfectly, what you have going. Is it a local artist, you said?
No, so my friend designed the logo. She's down in Savannah, Georgia. But another buddy of mine who lives down in Mexico is doing all the can art right now. But we are talking with a few other artists at the moment. Just because we are queuing up a lot of canning runs, and we need to start getting ahead of the label company, because
that's got to be the backup right now, right? I mean, I thought aluminum would be the backup, and now it seems like the labels are the backup.
Yeah, we've gone through like 3 label companies in our 6 months open, and I'm like, this one says they can get it to us quicker, and then like it'll show up and it's like, I like the first one better. I don't know. So we're like still fine tuning that, but yeah, no, it's been unreal. Like I really am happy with how focused the brand has got, especially in our first year. That's something I've been a little bit stubborn about. Like, I want us to be very much so the darling brand. I don't want there to be too many outliers in terms of our labeling. But yeah, like you said, I think our brand sticks out on the shelf, and I go to a lot of beer distributors to drop off beer or even to just grab a few beers for myself. And I see so many labels that just kind of blend together.
Yep.
There's so much noisy artwork out there. And I think you see it with a few new brands popping up on the island and in the city, but they're sticking with more of a black and white theme. And I think, you know, those cans really stand out on the shelf so much more than like a really loud, colorful mess.
Yeah, it was a tug of war, right? I mean, it started off being very simplistic for the most part, like let's say 10 to 8 years ago, and then as people started trying to get that shelf appeal, they started colorizing and creating holographic labels and trying to get things to look translucent, and then everyone's doing that, obviously, and then all of a sudden, it comes back, and now people going back to simplistic just to kind of differentiate from the ones that aren't. It's kind of crazy. It'll constantly flow, I guess, in that wave type of movement, up and down and back and forth, just to kind of vie for, like I said, aesthetic shelf space.
Sure. Yeah. No, that's the biggest component to the industry right now. I think beer is very much so a popularity contest, and I think there's a lot of less than decent beers that.
Name names, Chris. Do it. Burns the fucking ground. Let's go.
He cannot do that.
I won't let him. Not drink yet. We're too new to be fucking enemies.
Yeah, exactly. No, I agree with you. I mean, there's plenty of labels that I come across.
On Long Island and in the city and upstate, and I get like excited because honestly, like, we're all so ingrained in this idea that like a cool can is going to be a good beer. Like it's the same way that you pick out candy when you're a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
and there's that cross, you know, there where that beer with the funky label may actually have fucking candy in it.
Right.
Yeah. Like we never really outgrow that. And, you know, I grab beer off the shelf all the time and I'm thinking like, oh, this sounds cool. The label's cool. I'm going to love this. And then I crack it open and I'm just like, oh God, like,
Yep.
Think about how many
it's
beers
probably
we've
just
actually
like
had.
that. You eat with your eyes first. You know, you want to see that pretty presentation, but the pretty presentation is in a, you know, an aluminum tube.
And at the same time, how many beers have you passed up because it didn't look pretty? And think about what you could have enjoyed. All the missed opportunities.
No, it's so true. It really is true. And like, now I take a lot more time going to beer distributors and bars and restaurants that I actually know that the server is going to curate the beer and tell me what they like and why they like it, as opposed to just going to, you know, some whatever Home D and they have a bunch of 4-packs on the counter from X brewery.
Who knows when?
Yeah, and they've been sitting out warm for how long, but the can looks cool, and like, this is what we're pushing today, because I can get $10 a can or $20 a can, like whatever it is, because you know how some of these guys operate. But yeah, no, I'm just much more careful about where I buy my beer these days.
Barrel Aged Dave is checking in. Barrel Aged Dave is taking shots at Steve, and he said, "Guys, don't insult yada 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 like that."
Oh.
Oh yeah, yada yada was a great beer, and I know Barrel Aged Dave.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay.
I drink at his bar,
Ah.
so I used to drink yada 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 there all the time.
It was a Long Island staple in a way, and
You know what? I have noticed with labels, a lot of smaller breweries are kind of, I don't want to say ripping off, but they're making can labels that are very similar to, say, breweries that are well established, that have a huge following, cult following, and these other guys.
Which one?
Treehouse.
Yeah, there's some that look like that. Yeah, we know who that is.
I've seen there's a brewery on the island that when they first did their first couple of canning runs, I'm like, wait a minute, either this is Finback or other half, just by the style of, and
Yeah.
it, if I would have saw it on the shelf, until I read it, I would have thought it was the other half can or a Finback can.
Ah,
I
okay.
think I remember that release. Yeah.
There's
Yeah, no, it's again, beer is a popularity contest, and
the sad part is I know the beer that was in those cans,
not as good
Yeah.
as it should.
not as good as it should be, man.
I do like the
Yeah.
smaller breweries that are doing just like their label on a sticker. It's just like, this is us. This is our label. Take this. Here's a sticker. Boom. You're good to go.
it's genuine.
Yeah, exactly.
But also, like, we're not trying to be this national brand. Like, I make 7 barrels of beer at a time. Like, on a good day, if I wanted to really push my equipment, I could max out to 8. But like, I'm really just trying to cater to the local community. I'm not trying to be anything more than someone who's just trying to deliver a good product to Suffolk County, Nassau County, and maybe someday the city, but honestly, like, probably not for the foreseeable future. I just think we're on too small of a system, and growing beyond the 7-barrel system, I mean, that sounds like a lot more headache than I want to bite off for years and years and years.
Right, the pressure starts building up, right? I mean, to actually provide, to produce when they want a 30 case pallet that's going to go out to them, that's a tough order to kind of put together.
It's a tough order to put together, but also I just don't really care to do it, because if I'm gonna have to put together a huge order, I'm gonna have to do all that work. I don't have any help right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, more than anything, like, I just want to take the next year, maybe 2 years, to really figure out like what the local community wants from me. And luckily, I'm seeing that it is a lot of Pilsner. It is a lot of traditional stuff. They do love the IPAs, obviously. They love the sours. But yeah, no, I mean, people are pretty accepting of what we've been doing so far. And as long as that I can keep filling that, like, I'm happy to do it at this scale.
Yeah. Jordan R329 says people don't appreciate local, they want what's cool, which is very much the truth. And then Bruce B73 says, look at Industrial Arts. Their can labels are simple and just stand out. And it's pretty much consistent throughout their entire product line.
They have a theme, too. That's simple.
From Rockaway, just started working up there as a
Nice.
as a cellarman. Yeah, they make phenomenal beer. They make some of my favorite pale ales, some of my favorite IPAs, because they're at, like, they actually have some bitterness and some decent body to them.
Metric Tools is the Pilsner, right? The Pilsner is pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was one of those ones that I tried. I was like, oh, I'll try a Pilsner from them. And I was like, oh, yeah, I could do that.
No, they make some really great stuff. I totally agree. Like, they're doing some awesome stuff. Simplicity is cool. Simplicity
Absolutely.
is where it's at.
One of my new favorite brewery names, Blue Tarp Brew. I don't know, just checking in, saying what's up. Blue Tarp Brew. I don't even know where that is, but that's a fantastic name.
It could be a home brewer.
Could be, yeah. When they're just brewing under a tarp.
Themselves brewery names when they're,
That's fantastic, though. I like it. It's simple. Chris, let's get into some beers. As I'm slowing down here because I want to be able to have them while you're speaking about them. So the first one most of us cracked tonight to start off was the Minor Strains. It was the Sour Double IPA. As I said early in the show, I'm a huge fan of sour IPAs, whether it be on the very, like, Brett side, dry, crisp, or now even on this one where you're brewing it with blackcurrant and Szechuan peppercorns. And the lactose doesn't even feel, it doesn't even stand out to me, which is, I guess, a good thing because I don't like heavily lactose things. Tell me about this beer. Tell me about the process in creating this because, like I said, I'm a big fan of the sour IPAs.
Sure. I'm not a huge fan of overly lactose beers. I think a lot of breweries don't show very much restraint with it. I think it's a really great ingredient when
That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I think it is a great ingredient because it serves a purpose. It's not fermentable. It leaves the residual sweetness. It leaves the creaminess on the palate, but it can very easily be way too much.
Yep.
So we're pretty
The
careful.
only thing you notice out of the beer.
Yeah, it becomes the standout piece, and you don't want that to be.
Especially in like a lot of the pastry stouts that are coming out these days, which I love a lot of them, but man, I really can't drink more than 6 ounces. But with this beer, super dry, which called for the lactose to kind of round it out a little bit. Good amount of oat, but honestly, like for me, the biggest thing was letting the blackcurrant be showcased, because I think if you're getting into a sour IPA, you really care more about the fruit and the hops. With this beer, it was dry hops with quite a heavy hand of Mosaic, also HBC 016, which is an experimental hop from New Zealand. Yeah, so a good friend of mine, Graham Allard from Hollingberry Hops, is one of their brokers up there. And as soon as we opened, he really hooked me up with some great contracts, some experimental stuff that I don't know if very many other breweries on Long Island are getting. I'm sure some of them are. Like, I'm sure the guys at Sand City get whatever they want. But
no, they don't. No way.
But yeah, no, like he sent me a bunch of stuff to play around with, and we did a lot of smell testing and sensory testing to figure out what we were gonna do to accompany the fruit in this beer. And Mosaic obviously goes well with any sort of berry, particularly blueberry, but blackcurrant is definitely in that same vein. So again, heavy hand of Mosaic, heavy hand of this experimental hop, which also has a very fruity berry quality, to the point where it really doesn't register so much as a dry hop. It really just kind of accentuates all the fruit that we added. And we did add a good amount of fruit. Like it was
a lot of fruit.
Yeah, I remember paying that bill and thinking this was too much.
Yep.
Too much fruit.
Yep.
A lot of fruit.
This is how much fruit costs? That's crazy.
Fruit is crazy, and the shipping is.
Oh, it's insane. And also, shout out to the guys at Dubco, because they always hit us up before they put in an order for fruit purees.
Yep.
And tack on with them, and they make it so much easier for us because, again, we don't really have the space for storage, but they always hook us up whenever they're about to put in an order. So,
Chris and John plowing through Bayshore.
Shout out to Jimmy, shout out to Jen. Yeah, all those people. They've been super helpful in this transition into opening a brewery in the pandemic. They've been super, super hospitable to us. Those are some of my best friends in the industry. So
talk to me about the Szechuan peppercorns in this. Where do they come in? How are they prepared? What are you doing with those?
So those are added just at hop stand, which is typically when we would add hops to our whirlpool at 165 degrees Fahrenheit.
Giving away the farm, Chris. Giving away the farm.
Giving away the farm.
Just kidding.
Good luck. You don't know what else is in it.
Exactly. Yeah. A lot to be desired.
I'm going to get my rest today.
Keeps people tuning in. What else is he going to tell us?
Yeah, we had the Szechuan peppercorns at hop stand because that's also when we're adding our whirlpool hops as to not isomerize. We're just looking for a good extraction of aroma. In addition to that, the Szechuan peppercorn, my idea with this beer is I love a lot of Szechuan foods, and I love the numbing effect that Szechuan peppercorn can have on your palate. Not in that it takes away from flavor. What I really love about it is that it seems to accentuate sweetness. And if you're doing a sour IPA, especially something as dry as the base was for this, I think it really pulls out a lot of the fruitiness from the blackcurrant. Also, like I'm sure you'll see with that beer, like not a crazy head retention. That's mostly from the Szechuan peppercorn. Super oily, super aromatic. But yeah, I think all in all, I got very lucky because I've never really brewed with it outside of a saison. And with this beer, It just seemed to be just the right amount to accentuate the blackcurrant and not overpower anything else.
What are you
feel like-
doing for the souring technique?
What's that?
What are you doing for your souring technique? Kettle sour?
Standard kettle sour. Yeah, about 36 hours, just straight lacto P pitch the day before, boil for 90 minutes, and then knock out.
Go.
Nothing crazy, nothing too interesting.
Dropping pH like a motherfucker.
Nothing yet.
Blue Tarp Brewing Company is in Tucker, Georgia.
Oh, there you go.
For those keeping score at home.
And Hoppy Souls is saying, "What's up, Chris? The process here for the sour and the peppercorn. What I found from it is the peppercorn acts as an EQ, like in audio. When you're able to cut some frequencies, it helps accentuate other frequencies. So it's kind of that concept, right?
No, exactly. It's an odd ingredient. But I'm someone who loves to cook at home. I cook a lot. Me and my friends are all pretty big foodies. We go to a lot of pretty interesting restaurants, eat a lot of interesting food. And again, Szechuan is something that I've always been a huge fan of, and I've always wondered how it would fit into beer. Obviously, like I said before, it fits into Saison, especially French Saison, with that peppery aspect that you're looking for. And I did a couple of beers in my time at Rockaway with Saison yeast, specifically French Saison yeast 3711 from Y Yeast. It's just my favorite. But yeah, like it's a really great accent to the beer. But I've always been curious, how would it accentuate fruit? And I think this beer is kind of like proof in the pudding. It does make sense as an ingredient with the backbone of lactose, with the mouthfeel of oat, with the unmalted wheat, and then all together with the blackcurrant. I think it does kind of come through.
Are you going a lot with Y yeast for your pitches, or
we're all
kinda...
over the place? We're everywhere right now. Typically, I prefer Omega for my lagering yeast. I really like Bootleg Biology for their Saison Parfait, but I also really think that Y yeast is most consistent with its Saison yeast. I tend to stick to that if it's going to go into a barrel later on. And then we've gone back and forth between Y yeast and what's the one upstate? The yeast lab something.
Oh, they're actually new, aren't they?
The Yeast Bay. Yeah, we've used a couple of their hazy strains. We started out with the double IPA strain from Omega, but we just weren't having the right results with it. Everything was coming out like a little bit too New England West Coast hybrid, which I love. I thought it was great. I was like, I love hop character. I love a little bit of dryness, but obviously the customer base wants what it wants, and we wound up switching to your standard London Ale yeast.
Yep.
But yeah,
I think what comes across in the end for me, go ahead. What comes across to me in the beer is almost like a cranberry, even though there's no cranberry there. It almost has that cranberry-esque feel, and I'm a fan of cranberry, so to me that works along with the souring and everything. Kind of gives it that. I don't have a very express palate, but I know it kind of feels that way.
The tartness accompanied by the berry aspect, and then the earthiness of some of the hops and the peppercorn definitely presents as cranberry.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, I totally agree with that. That's a good way of putting it. I've never really thought of it that way.
Yeah, and I've had a few of the cranberry-based sours, and they don't taste as good. So when you're going in an opposite direction with a different fruit and the peppercorns, it actually brings you back to what I would expect from that kind of beer. So I think you did a great job here. And I want to just sign off on Instagram really quick. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. A lot of people were having their own conversations in the chat, which was fun. So I told everyone to go over to GovsRadio, and maybe we'll start it up again when my phone has power at the end here. So thanks, everybody. Anyway, so this is to me right up my alley. This is something that I could drink many of in a given day. So
You have
great
to come
job.
by the tap. We have another sour IPA that isn't in cans. It's on tap. That's Showbiz Kid, which is sour IPA with peach, lactose, and vanilla.
I like
That's
the
another
peach
one
ones,
of the
yeah.
beers where you pay the bill on the vanilla and the peach, and I was like, holy shit.
There you go.
Peach is no joke either. I mean, that's at a season at this point, right? So it's hard to kind of find a good peach,
Yeah,
or at least a puree.
we closer to the end of peach season, and we're just about out of it. We only have a couple of kegs left, but
There you go.
yeah, I recommend you come by and try it because that beer is definitely really melded and kind of come together in the last month. It's definitely conditioned a little bit better.
Challenge accepted.
All right, it's that time, boys.
Is it? I got to crack my second beer. Okay, you got it.
It's time for Steve to ask his triple question threat.
I wish I had theme music for you. I'll develop that for the fourth.
Well, now you
season
have
number 4.
to.
Wait, season number 4.
Now you have
I'll
to.
do like a little jingle. I'll have the kids in my class build a little jingle for you. Like,
There you
it's
go.
time with Steve. We'll figure it out.
All right, so Chris, I ask every brewer that comes onto the show 3 questions. One, what was that first gateway craft beer, or just any beer that turned you on to craft beer? 2, what is your favorite style? And
Are you writing this down, Chris? You got to write it down.
And number 3 is
Don't repeat it for me.
Okay, there you go. Yeah.
and number 3, what is a beer you would drink now, other than one of your own beers that you brew yourself? What is a go-to beer for you now?
Okay. All right. So one of the beers that really got me into craft beer, I was probably only I was 16 or 17, and me and my friends wanted to go to a party, and we were asking my friend's brother to get us beer. And he had just come back from his first semester of art school, and he had a fake ID. And,
What do you think he was doing in art school?
oh yeah.
Of course he was.
But he was like, "Fine, I'll get you guys beer, but I'm not getting you Bud Light. I'm gonna get you craft beer. I'm gonna get you real beer." And we were like, "Yeah, whatever, man. Like, just get us alcohol. We're 17." But yeah, so he took us to 7-Eleven and came out with like a 6-pack of Brooklyn Brown Ale, a 6-pack of Brooklyn Lager, and a 6-pack of like Blue Point Toasted Lager or something. And
There you go.
I remember we got to this party and I cracked open a brown ale, and I was like, holy shit. I had no idea that beer could taste that way.
Yep.
And fast forward 1 year, I'm obsessed with craft beer and like brewing in my parents' kitchen when they're not home. Like I was totally hooked.
Chris, what's that smell? Why does it smell like that in the kitchen?
What did you do?
What did you do?
No, my parents were actually really supportive. Well, within reason, until it became my career, and then it was like, oh wait, like you want to do this for real? Like, anyway, so yeah, I think
Just
it was
wait
like
till your
Brooklyn-
father gets home, Chris. Just wait.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I think so. It would definitely be Brooklyn Brown Ale was like my gateway, and that's when I started really looking into craft beer. What was the second question?
Second one, what is your favorite style?
This will be on the midterm, by the way.
I think it's Czech Pills. Oh, you know what? No, I take that back. My favorite style is Doppelbock.
Oh, there you go.
Ooh.
No one makes great Doppelbock. I've never
Troganator?
Troganator, yeah, but no one like Small is making good Doppelbock. I really wanted to do one this year, but we all kind of agreed, like
Steven did.
Me and Larry.
That was the Collaborator.
Yeah, Collaborator. That
was
freaking
fucking
thing.
delicious.
yeah,
That
no,
beer,
that was,
man. We were so happy with that beer.
But Steve, how was it received?
Actually, it was the people that sought it out were like, holy shit, this is a fucking great beer.
Guilty.
Other people, like Doppelbock. What is the double?
Why isn't it hazy?
Well,
well, this was a while ago.
yeah, and
the haze
well,
craze.
there was that too. Is it hoppy? Is it? Oh, shut up.
You actually made a return trip for that.
That's my
goddamn
favorite
beer.
style. We really wanted to do one. We just decided this wasn't the year because bars and restaurants aren't buying kegs as much. Certainly not going to be buying kegs of Doppelbock.
No, not right now.
If we can do it, it would never move. So
That is a sad fucking state of affairs.
Yeah, it sure is.
Yeah, you'd be sitting on a whole lot of Doppelbock.
Yeah,
So much Bach. So much.
that's my favorite style. Like I just love the malty, chocolatey. It's just like my fireplace beer for the winter. You know?
I was gonna say, so what's the season you would associate that with? You'd brew it probably September, get it out in October sometime, and then through January?
A little bit later. I probably like brew it in December and release it January, February.
Ah, okay, cool.
But really cold months, that's when I want to drink that. But and then the last question was, what would I want to drink
Now, other than your own beer.
other than my own beer? Right now, probably just Pilsner or Kel.
What were you
That's
drinking earlier? I saw a green bottle.
Embarrassingly Heineken.
That was my guess. All right.
That's embarrassing. Like that's my weekday beer. Like I have a couple of Heineken. I can't drink like the hazy IPAs during the week.
Well, I'll put it this way. So I've been going backwards a little bit in the craft beer scene. Not that it's not a craft beer that I'm about to talk about, but I've come back in love with Dogfish 60 Minute to the point where I'm drinking a case over the weekend, which is what I pretty much did. Yeah, things are getting real over here at the old Tool household.
Jesus.
So when IPA used to actually taste like IPA, right?
Exactly. That and Stone and Sierra Nevada, those kinds of things. But I gravitate all the time to 60 Minute.
Definitely like one of my defaults. If I want something hoppy, I drink Sierra Nevada Pale.
Yeah, exactly. That was the first one that I tasted that was like that, and I went, whoa, what is this? And then I saw Stone, and I saw Dogfish, and I ended up with Dogfish as the repertoire. But like I went out, I bought a 6 for Friday night. That went really quick, and I actually now again enjoy drinking out of a bottle. I don't know why. Like out of nowhere, for years, I'm like, I need my glassware, I need my 16 ounce, and I need my physics, and I gotta. And now I'm like,
you brought your own glassware yesterday.
I know,
I know.
I know. I bring my own glassware to a bottle share. I'm a fancy son of a bitch. I apologize.
Why?
Clearly.
But yeah,
You and your fucking pea coat.
pea coat. It's not a long trench coat pea coat. Get out of here. So anyway, the Dogfish, I drank that 6 on Friday, and then Saturday the football rolls around. And I'm like, all right. I went out and got one, and I realized about 2 beers in, I'm like, this is not going to last. So I go get another one, and then I realized Sunday after being with these guys, I needed more because there was still football on. So your kryptonite is Heineken. My kryptonite is Dogfish 60 Minute. Just go right with it.
Yeah. It's like what I grew up with. My dad always had Heineken in the fridge. It was always Heineken or Beck's. Like those are my two when I'm really not trying to think too much about what I'm drinking. I can't drink Bud Light. I can't drink Budweiser. I can't drink any of those like macros.
Nope.
But yeah, like a few of the imports I think are good. Beck's is great. Heineken I think is great.
Prior
more than anything, they're just really consistent.
Yes. Well, prior to enjoying craft beer, that's Heineken was my drink. It was Heineken Light or Heineken itself. I would go to that and drink plenty of those every night. Maybe a Guinness at the end of the night or so. But, for the most part, now it's just taking it to the, I guess, a little bit of a different level because I just enjoy the hop of the Dogfish. And to have like this, like you said, the original flavor we all accustomed to an IPA, Dogfish still encapsulates it to this day. It's just crazy how consistent they are.
Amazing. Like for how long that beer has been around and they're still making it the exact same way. Like a lot of breweries that I've worked for in the past have a flagship beer or something that people really demand, but the brewery will change it with the trends. And I'm like, well, no, it's not the beer that we set out to make originally.
Yep.
We call it something else, but that's the nature of the beast.
Yeah. Something like even
you just
a Kona longboard seemed like it had changed at one point, or Kona beers in general seemed to have changed. When they first hit the scene, I went, this is great. I love Castaway IPA. I love Fire Rock. I liked longboard. And now you go to a tropical island and longboard's longboard, but or big wave is big wave. But you get them in a can now, or you get them at the distributor, and you're like, nah, it's not what I remember it as being.
That's how I feel about Magic Hat.
Yeah,
Magic Hat
that
used
too.
to be a good beer.
Yeah.
And then it changed along the way, and now I can't drink it.
See, I was a Magic Hat fanboy for quite some time. Point where I have the flag under here on the bar, and
I had the flag.
It's even on the mat right here. You can see it, but it was it kind of lost its sparkle in my eye. Yeah, luster.
A lot of city breweries that I really loved their flagships when I was getting into craft beer, and as soon as you get to a point where your brand is blowing up and you're doing really well, and they have to outsource their beer, they have to kick it up to a contract facility somewhere. And that again, that's just how this game is played. But I've always found that once it gets kicked up to a contract facility, you're working on totally new equipment, and that's something that I've noticed trying to translate my recipes from Barrier or from Rockaway to Darling. Like, there's definitely a learning curve, but a lot of like my favorite beers that started to get mass produced by some of my favorite breweries were just never the same.
Yeah.
A lot of them have come back and they've gotten their footing, or they've like dialed things in with their contract facilities, but it's just really funny. Like, as soon as you leave one brew house to try and do it on another, it's never going to be exactly the same.
It also has to do a little bit with in my opinion, the water of the area. So the water of, let's say, Brooklyn Defender. I used to love Brooklyn Defender, and now I crack one open. I go, this is not what I remember it being. There's something to it. There's got to be something to it when they contract out of state or out of the area, and things change a little bit.
That a lot of breweries don't really look into before they kick it up to a facility. I know a ton of brewers on the island and in the city that, or even in Jersey, that don't really do much about their water profile. They just filter.
Yep.
And if you're a style-dependent brewery where you're always adjusting or doing new things, you really need to play with your water profile a lot. I mean, even in Patchogue, we have very clean water to the point where I don't have to do much if I'm just making a standard hoppy beer, maybe just a little bit of gypsum. But for the most part, like, I do play with the water profile, but I know that a lot of breweries don't. So when they do kick it up to a contract facility with a totally different water profile, they don't really have basis to say like, well, we do this to achieve this many parts per million of this mineral. You guys have this much. Like, that discussion is lacked.
And for the people that don't understand, take a shower on Long Island. You have your soft water from the aquifer underneath the island, and then you go upstate and it's hard water from the reservoirs and stuff like that. And you could tell the minute you get in the shower, the smell of the water, the feel of the water. It's something you really don't think about, but if you stop for a moment and just think about it, and like, this doesn't feel the same, there's a reason for that, and it's because of the source in which the water is coming from.
Right.
I want to get into this double IPA, Enflayed.
Enflayed.
Yes. So this is hopped with Talus, which I've not heard of, by the way. First time I'm seeing that. Strata, which I have heard of, and Nectaron, which I think I've heard of, but it doesn't seem like you're taking the traditional movement with the hop profile. Give us a little breakdown on this one.
This is all experimental New Zealand style hops. Listen, I love the classic hops. I love Mosaic. I love Citra. I love Idaho 7. Idaho 7 is one of my favorites, but at the end of the day, like, I do want to showcase different things. I don't want to just be adherent to the very basics, Anyone can just jam a ton of Citra into a beer. Anyone can overpay for Galaxy and jam it into a beer. Yeah, it's easy. I could pay $30 a pound for a Galaxy and just like dose the hell out of an IPA, and sure, it'll taste great, but I'm not going to make any money on it. But I think here is like a really good example of, I took 3 hops that I had small contracts for. I didn't pay more than $13 a pound for each of them.
There you go.
And I also didn't over dry hop the beer. I didn't double dry hop. I didn't triple dry hop. It just, you pay respect to the alpha acids in the hop, and you know what you're doing to your beer.
As far as
And
double
I think
IPAs go, I mean, they all seem to stand out and work in conjunction with each other. It's actually really good and refreshing. I have it ice cold right now, so it's just about the bitterness. I enjoy a good West Coast bitterness. I think New Zealand has that balance between the New England juiciness and a West Coast bitter, and it feels like you're right in line with that. It's kind of like a decent, let's say, middle of the country type of thing.
I will say that this is the first beer that this is the first IPA that I brewed that I really feel like we hit the note. Whereas a lot of the first ones were either too hoppy or some of them were too juicy, and I was like really trying to find that middle ground. And I don't know if you guys are getting this on the nose, but like I feel like it's really forward grapefruit pith, but also candied orange. And so, I mean, I love that pithy kind of aroma because it reminds you that you're about to drink something with a ton of hops in it. And you're about to drink something that's 8.5% too. You know, a lot of these new IPAs, I get into them and I'm like, it's 8.5, but man, like I could just pour them down my throat. They go down so smooth. Like it's dangerous. I like to, I want my customers to like taste the beer and be like, oh yeah, no, that could be 8.5. But also I don't think it drinks too bitter. I think you have that grapefruity pithiness on the nose. You have that citric rind on the nose as well. But when you drink, it's much more tangerine, melon, and maybe even a little bit of coconut. And
okay, I can see the coconut. Yeah.
Yeah, this is one of the first beers that we used incognito hop extracts with. I'd never used hop extracts, but again, Hollingberry hooked us up with some really great incognito hop extracts, CO2 extracts. One of them being Citra, the other being Sabro. We did a little bit of a blend with them, and Sabro offers that huge coconut pina colada nose. And then Citra, obviously, that kind of candied orange. And then I feel like the Nectaron is my new favorite hop. That's not I've ever dealt with before, but we did get a small contract for it. And actually, our next IPA that's coming out is going to be a single hop New England style Nectaron IPA.
Nice.
I'm very excited.
It's
got a slight earthiness to it.
Mm-hmm.
But on the aroma, it's incredibly just citrus forward. It's a really interesting hop. And stop me if I'm kind of doing the wrong thing here, but I think I've come to a conclusion of involuntary exposure to what I do. So I'll drink this, and then what I'll do is and it sounds terrible, but it works. I'll burp up a little bit with my mouth closed, and I'll feel it through the nose, and I'll get another blast of some sort of flavor that would accentuate the next taste. Is that something that people talk? I'm throwing it out there. I just realized it now that I do this quite often. It's just coming to the realization.
I do that with White Castle. And
oh, Steven. Sloppy Joe's. Don't worry about it.
I did that last night, by the way, guys, I left. I
figured as much. I figured as much.
And it didn't work out in my favor.
But it's almost the same thing with food. I mean, it's one of those things where I think involuntary I end up doing that, and just to kind of recapture some of the profile of what I'm drinking or eating. So is that a thing that in the industry, guys? I don't know.
No.
Okay. It's not something that I've ever talked about with anyone, but I think it's something that we go through a little bit.
Maybe I'm an innovator. Maybe.
Wow.
Who knows?
Or you're just a drunk.
That's true too.
Or weird.
Whoa, because I bought a case of Dogfish, now I'm a drunk. Come on. Come on. But I mean,
man, it's not something we talked about. You shouldn't have brought it up.
No. Those are inside voices finally coming out on air. I apologize.
Yes.
So the Talus, is that the New Zealand, right? That's the experimental New Zealand that you were talking about?
Nectaron is they're all somewhat experimental. They're all New Zealand hops, I believe. Actually, no, I'm sorry. I believe that Talus is Australian.
Okay.
Then Strata is New Zealand, and Nectaron is also New Zealand.
Now, is there a specific contract you have with them? You have to buy a certain amount of these foreign hops, or is it something where you just kind of a la carte it?
Yeah, we only get like 200 pounds a year or something.
Okay.
Which, in the scope of these hops, is really not that much because we're mostly going to use them for late edition. So they're going to the fermenter basically in bulk. So 200 pounds doesn't go a very long way. We'll probably get to brew this beer like maybe 3 times a year if we wanted to. But yeah, hopefully going this year is we can get a little bit more cold storage and we can start ordering some more of these hops.
And there's the reasoning again for why you would want a bigger facility for storage and dry storage, and then increase your cooler space in the tap room and vice versa.
Again, like Strata is a highly coveted hop right now, maybe even more so than Galaxy, and we have a small contract for it, which is really great. It's amazing that we have a small contract for it because we're only paying about $13.50 a pound, as opposed to if you wanted to get them on spot or secondhand through other markets, you would probably have to pay $29 to $35 a pound.
Wow.
So more than double.
Highway
robbery, yeah, for real. But at the same time, you put Strata on your can and it's going to fly off the shelves. So, there's give and take.
Yeah.
But if we can have a little bit more walk-in space, if we can have a little bit more output annually, then we can rationalize getting a much bigger contract for the following year. Sure. That's really what it comes down to. It's just that balancing act.
Do you contract for a lot of the sexy hops, the Citras, the Mosaics, the Galaxies, or is that just something like you kind of get because you have a brew in mind, or do you try to stockpile anything when it's on sale?
We don't get, we pretty much order stuff as is needed. Things that are special like these hops, we definitely have contracts for because they're too expensive to get otherwise. For something like Citra or Mosaic, a lot of the other hops, you can mostly get them on spot. So, and at a decent price point. So those we're less worried about. Going forward, if we do expand to a certain point, a certain output, we'll have to contract everything. That was a big part of working at Barrier. Once we moved up to the 20-barrel system and we were brewing 3 times a day, it was very quickly we need X amount of this per year. Right. Honestly, we needed to be able to store it monthly because the storage fees at some point at another facility just become absurd.
It's not worth the storage price, so you just use it as is, like you said.
Yeah. Right.
So we have these 2 beers. I know you did a collaboration with Myers. Is that correct? Myers Brewing?
Myers Creek.
Myers Creek, right. Okay, so tell us a little bit about that one, because I know Steve had that collaboration at the brewery.
Yeah, at midnight. That was our blackberry blackcurrant, and black cherry, and black sea salt goes.
Black sea salt. Yep.
Yeah. That was our 3-way collaboration with Destination Unknown and Myers Creek. We went up there to the facility up at Myers Creek and brewed it there, 60 barrels. Keep an eye out for their beer. They're making some really phenomenal stuff. I don't know if you guys know Ivan. Steve, I'm sure you know Ivan.
Ivan from Oyster Bay Brewing Company, former.
Yeah, honestly, probably one of the best minds in beer. If I ever have a question about anything craft beer related, he's the first call that I'm going to make, just because he has such an extensive background, but he's also he's never had the capability to brew what he wanted to brew. He's always kind of been to what ownership wanted him to do. Yep. Now he's working for this 60-barrel brewery upstate with the 6-barrel pilot system, and he kind of has free reign. And
The kid in the
gotta
candy
say,
store.
seriously, like, haven't been drinking a lot of IPAs, but as soon as I got up there, like, I had an IPA in my hand the entire weekend.
Yeah.
He's just doing really phenomenal stuff. I think they're pretty new. They're a similar situation as us. The brewery already existed. Someone bought it out.
It was Empire.
Yeah.
It was Empire, yeah.
Yeah.
And the company that manufactured their tanks bought them out, or Empire was going under, so they took over. However it happened, but similar deal. They just opened about a month before us, and they're making some really killer stuff. But in addition to the awesome IPAs, they're also doing really phenomenal traditional styles. Like they had a Hefebach up there. They had some really cool stuff. Like, and I know that's what they do well. And actually, I got my friend and former cellarman from Rockaway Brewing Company, Mark Jensen, a job up there as a brewer, and I know he's killing it. Like, we both have a very similar mindset for beer, and we both love traditional styles, and that's mostly what we worked on when we were working together at Rockaway. But yeah, you really got to keep an eye out for their beer.
And Empire, I'm sorry, Myers Creek, it's in the city of Syracuse, correct?
10 minutes outside of Syracuse,
okay, so
in
right there.
Casanova.
I was actually kind of annoyed. I used to have yearly trips up to Syracuse, and for school-related activity, and there was some downtime throughout the years, and I always said, I got to get over to Empire, because I wanted to see their space and their brewing system and all that, and now they're done. So now I can kind of get my stamp on my Think New York, Drink New York app, but Myers Creek replaced it, so we're right there. I can get a new one.
Again, the company that manufactured all the equipment, all the fermenters for Empire, took it over. So every time Ivan needs something, he pretty much just puts in a request to this like pharmaceutical grade manufacturing company, and they're just like, he's like, yeah, as long as you can like rationalize it financially, like we'll make you one.
Oh.
It's like every brewer's dream.
He's living in a brewer's heaven up in Syracuse.
Yeah, seriously.
It's Casanova.
It's also a space.
There you go. I always enjoyed early on when Oyster Bay opened the beer that was coming out of there, and not so much that Ivan had the say in what was being brewed, but the quality of the beer that was coming out. And not to downplay Oyster Bay, we're going to try to have them on this year, but I'm really interested in how things change and how the recipes have changed and the portfolio has changed. Those are kind of the stories, the war stories of the brewing industry, of things losing and things taking over, and you're one of the ones in the history books for taking over a business that needed a complete rehaul, and then coming out with fantastic beers. Everything that I've had tonight, and now especially as much as I love the sour double, this thing is fantastic. I can drink a lot of these. These are delicious. At 8.5, I'm not going to get off the couch anytime soon.
So come by.
Yeah. Do you have a couch and football? I'll be there. There's some playoff games coming up. I could take the railroad back to my house. That's what's fantastic.
There you go.
That's where it's dangerous.
Yeah, yeah. Well, no, because it won't be dangerous because it'll be on the LIR. Well, as long as I wear a mask, then I'll be safe. There's a bunch of people checking in on Instagram. Of course, Coven Hoven in New York City is checking in, saying what's up. Beer Narrator, who has their show starting up in about 5 minutes over on Instagram, does a great beer trivia show. Brian McElvoy 92 is checking in. The Step Brewers, who we're going to have on the show in 2021, checking in. A lot of people kind of hanging out and saying hello.
Yeah, Brian and I graduated high school together, actually.
Hey, there you go. Now,
yeah, he's Jones Beach Brewing Company.
Oh, it's Brian. Oh, okay, I know who it is. Yeah, we've had him on the show in season 1, actually.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, they came on. Who was it? Pete. He's not gonna remember. Pete's not gonna remember. I don't even remember.
It was just them.
No, it wasn't Brian. It was.
Oh no,
his partner. I know it's so many people we've had on. It's hard to remember everybody's name.
Tiny Tim.
No, it wasn't Tim. It wasn't Tiny Tim. But we always say they have so much merch out there, and I can't find the beer. More merch than beer out in the world. But I mean, the beers that we had, the inlet, was it the inlet lager or the Pilsner?
We had a very different IPA from them.
Yes, yeah, which was actually different than you would get, and I like the idea of different when you constantly have that.
Chris Mills.
Chris, that's what it is. Couldn't think of it. Oh, are you sure that's not Sadden Brothers? See, that's what I get mixed up on.
That was Jeff Sadden.
You're right. Correct.
Boom.
See?
Game blouses.
That's why we keep you around, Pete, because I don't remember anybody's name unless it's like within the last year. And then I just somehow might have to replace the memory card with a new memory card. So, Chris, don't be sad if I said, Chris, there you go. It's just my memory and how it works. Let's talk about what else is.
Come on, bro.
I know.
Randy, that's it. No.
Randy.
Yeah, Chris and Randy.
Randy was the other one.
Chris called me the day of the show. He fucking contracted the plague before the plague on a cruise ship, and then his brother Randy came in.
Mm-hmm. And then we met Brian at one of the Nassau County Beer Fests. He came in and said hello and jumped on the show for a few minutes. So very cool. Let's talk about what else is up on the board at the brewery. So we went through the sour double and the regular double. What else do you have? If someone walk in today, what's up on that board?
So again, we have the other sour IPA, that's Showbiz Kid, the peach, vanilla, and lactose beer. Love that beer. Come by and get it soon because it's limited.
You have it canned up?
We're about to run. We don't have it canned up,
right.
But we do offer close to go.
Okay.
Additionally, on the board, we have our English Mild. We have our Keller beer. We have Bones, which is like kind of our West Coast New England hybrid. It's like somewhere in the middle of the two. Double IPA. Trying to think what else we have.
While you're thinking, Charlie from 1940s checking in saying, "What's up, boys?"
Hi, Charlie.
And then again, yeah, we have the new IPA coming out. Probably, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I think Friday we will have out a new IPA, single hop with Nectaron.
Oh, nice. So you're going to feature just the Nectaron one.
Just the Nectaron, yeah. I'm pretty excited about that one. I was tasting it today. It'll get dry hopped tomorrow, and then by Friday it should be ready and on tap. Nice.
Then this weekend it'd be an excellent adventure out to the Patchogue area. What do you have beyond that? Do you have stuff in the tanks after this weekend? You got stuff fermenting for a couple of weeks. What do we got?
Nothing too crazy right now. Again, we're in the slow season. We're not getting too far ahead of ourselves, but a couple of Pilsners in the works, a couple of new IPAs in the works, and then again, we also have the Blend of Ice Cream Ale and another IPA going into cans February 15th or 16th.
Ooh, nice. Right in time for Valentine's Day.
Right in time.
Yeah. What do you think is the next, when things obviously are going to kind of move forward a little bit, what do you think the next investment is for the brew house or for the place itself? What's the thought process for the future plans of the brewery?
So we're definitely always looking for, again, that little bit of storage space that we're kind of here and there finding, not working out, but more than anything, like there's a bunch of equipment that I would love to get for the brewery that, we're operating at a very unique capacity right now in that we don't have a ton of equipment, and I'm used to having a lot of like toys and bells and whistles coming from the breweries that I'm coming from. So there are definitely a few things that I would really like to invest in for myself and for the sake of making more consistent beer, because we do want to eventually get into making flagship stuff, especially in cans, but I'm not totally comfortable doing it right now without certain articles of equipment.
All right.
All coming within the next month.
Or any promises of contracts or anything like that.
Contracts?
Yeah, like moving forward, if things end up opening up, and then you can keg stuff and can stuff.
There's a ton of stuff that we're working on, but I don't want to talk about because it's such an uncertain time. again, like space is the biggest one. And we are talking to a few potential places about expanding into, but it's also up in the air right now that, yeah, I don't know. So I don't want to dedicate too much time to that.
Yeah.
Meantime, we're just looking forward to opening things back up, getting back to 100% capacity, continue with canning, and then I don't know, we'll see from there. Once things open back up a little bit, we'll be able to make some more finite decisions, but right now it's more so just about moving the beer that we have.
Well, if Steve and Mike would get their fucking vaccinations already,
We could go out and
You
just
know,
touch everybody
God.
and everything. We are part of 1B, just so you know. And once we get vaccinated, I'm just going to be licking doorknobs left and right.
I think I'm in group 8 fucking Foxtrot, so
He's gonna be licking the
It's
rail.
gonna be a
He's
little-
gonna be licking the railings going up, walking out of the
Right up.
subway into the.
Like this. Go ahead, fight me on this one. I'll get the
does it
flu.
come with a button? Like I got vaccinated or something?
Oh yeah.
No,
that'd
you'd be
nice.
able to tell by the one droopy eye.
No, I'll actually have the scarlet letter. I'll have it sewn onto every shirt that I have, so everyone knows.
Branded on your chest.
I'm gonna have to. There's no other way of doing it. I just feel like, you know, if we can get to the summer, we can limp to the summer. I think things will end up turning around a lot bit. Chris? Do you think that you know? Do you have an outside area that you can be once the weather turns a little bit better?
Unfortunately, not so much, because we're right in between two other buildings. We don't have parking per se. That being said, the town of Patchogue usually shuts down Main Street every Thursday and Sunday.
Yep.
So we're on a one-way street directly off of Main Street. So by proxy, we're shut down too, which means we can pretty much spill into the street 2 days a week. And I think once the weather is a little bit nicer, we're going to invest in getting the tables and, you know, setting up some sort of beer.
And those, you can repurpose those pop-up tents you're brewing under. You can repurpose them for seating.
No, that was for storage. That was just to keep the rain off the grain,
Yeah.
which is the name of the first beer I brewed. Rain off the grain.
Rain off the grain.
No, but seriously, I mean, you have the ability once the weather turns a little bit to do that. That would definitely help business. Do you hear anything from the local businesses in the area about what could be moving forward?
We're all very much on the same page right now, in that if there's a slow night in Patchogue, it's slow for everyone. But no, I mean, I think Patchogue has been very dedicated. The locals are very dedicated to the businesses that we have in town, and like we appreciate our customers so much, especially because most of our business is repeat business. Most of our business is locals. Most of it is regulars. But yeah, if town is dead for a night, town is dead for a night. It's not just us. It's everyone. So not just one of us hurts, we all hurt, you know.
What has been the most popular night? Is it a Thursday? Is it a Saturday? What's been the better night out of a week?
Saturday, and sometimes on Sundays. Those are the 2 days that we find ourselves turning people away because we're at.
That's hard, man. That's got to be hard to like sit there and say sorry. Just can't accommodate you today.
It also kills you to turn people away.
Right.
You know, I'll have 2 people drinking water at a table of 4, and then I have to turn away a group of 5 guys that look like they could drink 8 Pilsners each.
Damn it. And yeah, I know that Patchogue did the right thing back in the summer to allow people to be out on the sidewalk and stuff like that. Do you think that's possibly an option moving forward besides those Thursday and Sunday nights that they shut down?
I think so. I mean, I think the town is doing right by businesses as much as it can.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all just kind of slave to the SLA at this point. As long as you're following the rules, things are going okay, though. But yeah, Patchogue will definitely do right by the town. They'll do right by their businesses, and we'll see.
And was that a hard sell for them? I know the brewery was already kind of established before it was rebranded. Was that something that you heard about? That was another brewery in town was it a harder thing to kind of repurpose it because of that, or no?
Not so much. Yeah, I don't know. It was. I mean, we still get the question all the time, like, what happened to Patch Out Beer Project? And we just give them like the basic generic rundown of new concept, new partners. But yeah, I mean, there really hasn't been an issue or too much confusion making the transition. Also, I think it somewhat helps that Patch Out Beer Project was only a thing for, I think, just under a year.
Yeah.
And I don't think it was totally well known. And then the fact that there was this lockdown for as long as there was, and then we got right back into, all right, we're opening a new brewery and kind of doing it quietly. And now people are, there doesn't seem to be too much confusion.
That's good. Do you have any advice for the breweries that are trying to open, I guess, in the next year or so, and what they can expect when they open during these times before things can return to normal?
Just
don't do it.
Do what you want. I don't have good advice because we're figuring it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's obviously it's a crazy time. And we didn't expect to be opening in the middle of this, but yeah, I guess just stick to brewing what you want to brew and be proud of what you do, be conscious of what you do, be conscious of what your customers want.
Right.
And just find balance, because I mean, as stubborn as I can be about the kind of beer that I want to do all the time, I also know that I need to make the New England style IPA sometimes. I need to make the pastry stout sometimes. You got to play the game. You got to get people inside your establishment somehow, but keep them there with the esoteric stuff that you really want to be doing. Just have pride.
I know you mentioned before being a big foodie. What's the one place in Patchogue that you would go to? You just walk in and get a table.
Bird and Bow.
Ooh, there you go.
Yeah.
It's a good one. And they got a good tap list, too.
I don't think they have beer.
No? Are you sure?
Yeah.
I thought it was there. Maybe they didn't.
They don't. They should have my beer.
Of course they should.
It's great. Yeah, no, I'm friendly with the owners there, and they just make really awesome, interesting Taiwanese style bao buns, and they do.
I feel like they had beer in bottle or something. I don't remember draft, but I thought they had something there. It was a while ago since I was there, so maybe before the pandemic. When did they open? They opened years ago, right? They've been there for a while.
And just over a year ago, I think 1 year before the pandemic.
Okay. All right. So yeah, I definitely. Yeah, I travel out to Patchogue often. Patchogue, Babylon, Bayshore, to just kind of dine on some of the local cuisine, we'll say. And that's one. We have one that opened recently, Bakudo, here in Lyndhurst, and same thing. Got a great reputation. Great food.
Pat is a friend of mine.
Yeah,
the owner and head bartender there. I used to work in Rockville Center before I was in beer. I was a barista at a local coffee shop, so I'd make Pat his coffee in the morning, and then after my shift, I would go see him behind the bar at the bar, and he would make me my nightcap. So,
there you go.
We had that.
Chris, this has been awesome, and I invite everyone, and take it from us for sure, to go out to Patchogue and go visit Darling Brewing Company. We're extremely impressed with the quality of beer that's coming out of the brewery at such a young age. A lot of experience has gone into that, even though it's a relatively newer brewery that has opened. So definitely check them out. Oh, go ahead, Steve. What were you say?
No, that's the key. I usually tell people they'll go visit a new brewery and they're like, the beer is okay. And I'm like, hey, give them some time. They got to get their shit together. But that's usually because, and it's usually because they're inexperienced or the system they're not used to. But when it's somebody like yourself, where you've had experience. You know, you've worked on several different systems in different breweries, and it probably the beer came together quicker, and a really good product. Where some other breweries, you know, it is a learning curve. But like Mike just said, I've had, you know, the three tonight, and then I had two at the brewery, and all solid beers, man. I would definitely, you know, usually when we close the show and we talk amongst ourselves, I'll be honest, and I'm going to be honest now. Not a bad beer, and I highly would recommend. People should definitely go to Darling and definitely try what you're doing, because great stuff, man. Very impressed.
I really appreciate that more than you know. Thank you so much, and it means a lot coming from you too.
There you go. The godfather of Long Island beer, as we call him. He's not my godfather, but he's a godfather. Chris, look, we really appreciate you spending the time with us. Like we said, we will check it off the list. We're not beer reviewers, but we highly recommend this one for everything that we've had tonight, and Steve has had. We trust his palate, and we're going to be out there in the near future kind of sampling all the other stuff that we haven't tried tonight. So check them out. It's Darling Brewing Company in Patchogue, Long Island. Do me a favor, Chris, give us the big plug. Where can people find it? Where can people get it at this point? Do you know distributors you're at? Give us the social media contacts, everything like that.
All right, so you can find us on social media at Darling Brewing Co. on Instagram or on Facebook. You could also find us at darlingbrewingco.com. Otherwise, you can find our beer obviously at our tap room. We have tons of cans to go. We have a couple of guest cans right now. We also are available at Hopscotch Bottle Shop, which I'm sure most of you are fans of. I'm a fan of. Those guys are great. We're also available at Monarch Beverage in Long Beach, New York, if you're in Nassau County. And Some Guys Beverage, which I believe is...
Fucking love Some Guys.
Mike is the balls on wheels, let me tell you. He will walk you through like a... and not like a salesman like that. He'll walk you through like you just entered the Jeep dealership and be like, check out all the shit I have. Pick your shit.
Yeah, they know what they're doing. I mean, we're pretty careful about where we put our beer right now. We're so young. I don't want my beer sitting on tap for extended periods of time anywhere. I don't want my cases of beer sitting out warm on a shelf for the whole summer. So yeah, we're really considering where we put our beer right now. But those are the few places they can get us in addition to our tap room. And we encourage you guys to come in and feel free to place orders online for pickup.
Yep.
I was just going to ask, are you guys doing any delivery, or it's just pickup?
We're not doing delivery right now. It is something that we're looking to get into, though, in the near future. We just need to get a little bit more help. But now with the slow season, it's January, we kind of have a little bit more time. So something that we're going to probably discuss this week.
Cool.
So yeah, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Facebook, and stand by for any announcements regarding those.
Sweet.
But also any announcements regarding new beer.
That's the key.
There you go.
The new stuff, the good shit. This is The Word with Mike, Pete, and Steve, GovsRadio.com. Thanks a lot for joining us tonight. We will have our podcast version of the show up on all your favorite podcast platforms in the next few days. Also, check us out on YouTube, The Wort, a podcast with Mike, Pete, and Steve. And, of course, go back to GovsRadio.com to catch up on anything you might have missed. I want to thank everyone on Instagram tonight for joining the show and asking your questions and all that good stuff. I'm going to close out the second session of Instagram now. And, of course, thanks to all our sponsors. We're going to kick off 2021 again with a bang with Chris from Darling Brewing Company. And we're going to kind of plow into this year doing some really cool stuff. So check us out on everything. And, again, Chris, thank you very much for the time you spent with us tonight. Really appreciate your time. Yeah, it's not a problem. This is The Word with Mike, Pete, and Steve, GovsRadio.com. Pete, so we'll start with Steve. Sorry. Steve, any last words?
Herpes is the gift that keeps on giving.
Oh boy, here it is. You had to end on a high note, didn't you?
Always got to go there.
Peter?
Fuck 2020. Don't forget to have your pet spayed or neutered.
There you go. This is The Word of Mike, Pete, and Steve, GovsRadio.com. We out.
Well, that's 2 hours of your life that you'll never get back.
Are you kidding me?
Please hang up and try again.
This has been the Wort on GovsRadio.
You never let on how much you like school. Oh, thank you. Two, you always call the shot. Kiss me. You won't do that. Well, three, act like wherever you are, that's the place to be. Ready? Four. You always do find out what she wants and want to put it on. That's you. I love you that when we live in white dinner sauce and a comfortable arms. And five. Now this is most important. He's down on me